This episode of the Fiction Writers Podcast is brought to you by How to Write a Novel That Sells. Do you dream of writing a best-selling fiction novel? With the right tools, you could get there sooner than you think. Visit www.howtowriteanovelthatsells.com and unlock the secrets to writing compelling fiction taught by international best-selling author Lana McAra. Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
Journaling is something that most writers think about, but I really wonder how many people actually do it. That's what we're going to talk about today when we talk to our special guest. My name is Lana McAra, and welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast. Tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Today, I am delighted to welcome to our podcast, Sally Lotz. Sally's a 4-time published children's writer. She's a writing coach and mentor. She's working on her 5th book with her literary agent. And as a writing coach and mentor, she teaches her clients how to write their book with her Write Your Book in 30, 60, or 90 days writing programs. She lives in Orlando, Florida, which is not that far from me, where she enjoys local beaches, kayaking, and visiting local bookstores, and, of course, writing. She can often be found writing on her laptop in a local coffee shop or caring for her numerous plant babies. She loves to listen to all things culty and true crime podcasts, which I am with you there, Sally.
Love my secret obsession.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast. So let's talk about this idea of journaling today. I know a lot of people have different ideas about what journaling is, how it can work for fiction writers. So what's your take on it?
Well, I have several different ways that I journal. One of them is journaling as your main character. Sounds kind of odd, sounds kind of weird, but when somebody starts to journal, what I do when I'm writing a book, before I have that main character developed, I will sit down at night and start writing as that main character. And I will get side characters that will pop up. I will start building the relationships, since I write for children, between parents and siblings. So that's one way I journal. The other way, some of my clients who I work with do not write fiction, they write nonfiction, and I have them journal as if they were the person they were writing the book for, which in turn takes them back to why they're doing what they're doing. And it helps them remember, get those key topics that they need to talk about. So to me, that's kind of like MacGyvering backwards journaling, which most people don't think of when they say journaling. And then there is true journaling, where you sit down and if you're writing a memoir, or you're writing, even if you want to make better characters, sitting down and writing by hand. I always say by hand, with pen and paper. Times in your life that you can remember. Maybe you don't have a clear memory of it, but try and bring in all the aspects that were happening at that moment, as far as sounds, smells, people talking, was it quiet, even how the clothes felt on you. Especially if you're writing for children, this will help you integrate all of those things into great characters and great scenes, and push that story forward.
That is such a great idea. Well, 3 great ideas.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you use those sensory images, because even as writing for adults, we still need that depth to put into the book. And because you're bringing it down to the child level, you're actually helping us who are not children to bring our work forward in a more rounded, in-depth way. I love that.
Yeah. And it helps too with crafting scenes, because I've read a lot of manuscripts and I don't get a sense of place. I get lost. I'm like, I don't, and it takes you right out of the story, because you're trying to figure out, where is this person? What's going on? Where did they come from? And so journaling these spaces that you're in, journaling things that happen to you, they all help pull it together. In any of those formats, whether it's your real life, whether it's your character's life, whether it's your reader's life.
Yes, and that is so true and appropriate. One of the shortcuts that I've learned that I actually had just like this idea one day, didn't really come from anybody, was to take a personality test and pretend I was the character.
Oh, see? I've done that too early on. And I forgot too at the very beginning, the reason I started journaling was because I did Julia Cameron, is that her name? The Artist's Way.
Oh, yes.
And she says at the very beginning of her book, you're an artist. And to overcome a lot of the self-doubt that we tell ourselves before we even say we're a writer, is she has you write. And again, it's by pen and it's on paper. Just 10 minutes a day. And you start with, I am a writer, I'm a writer, I'm a writer. And then you just keep adding on to it. It changes your mindset really to write it out. And pretty soon you start believing it.
Yeah.
And then you add on to those. You just do like maybe a writing prompt, or some of the things that I was talking about for character building and scene building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is such a great exercise. And it would bring forward so many things about why you want to be a writer and what you want to have accomplished and all those different juicy things.
It does. Yeah, because we tuck it away back in our brain and we listen to all the voices that tell us, you can't do it, don't do it, that's stupid, you're never going to do it. It helps you to turn that off and rewrite your own story.
Yes, because the secret thing is that you can get there, but you have to be persistent, and you can't let those doubting thoughts stop you from making progress. I wrote for 14 years before I got a word published. Mm-hmm. And I was working on a novel the whole time, 14 years on the same novel. And I even stopped mentioning it. At first I was all excited. I would tell my family, my sister, my mother, etc. Oh, I'm writing this book. It's so great. Eventually I stopped talking about it because I got embarrassed.
So like, where is it? Well, if you think about it, somebody who's an Olympic swimmer, somebody who's in the NFL, somebody who's a professional, they did not just wake up one morning when they were 5 or 20 or whatever age they were, and then the next day they were that person. It takes time.
Yes.
And you have to put in that effort. And if you quit when you're almost there, then you're never going to get there. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
persistence, daily practice.
Yes. And that's why I encourage, even if you're writing, you don't feel like writing your manuscript, your book, or whatever it is you're writing, is to grab that journal and write something. It could be nonsense. It's whatever it is. You're not going to look at it tomorrow. Get a weird writing prompt. Just write something. And if your journal is your character, things are going to, like I said, things will pop up. Even you can journal as your antagonist. That's fun.
Yeah, great villain, an antagonist.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
I love that idea because I always love to dig into the villain, find out what they're up to, because they think they're doing something absolutely right. I mean, most of the time, unless you're writing, the Joker or some type of extreme character like that, the villain is actually they got an idea, they've got a goal, and to them it makes sense, even though it might be harmful to someone.
It's true, and when you're reading a book, you can tell right away if the antagonist doesn't have a motive for why they're doing what they're doing. It's our nature as humans. We want to know why. It can't be for no reason. And usually that's part of building characters. It can't talk today. It comes full circle.
Yes, exactly. Because people act for a reason. It might be a hidden, subconscious, psychological reason, or it might be a relationship reason or some event in their past, but they got a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So right now I'm working with a client who is writing a memoir, but he's including a lot of his mother and his grandmother in there. And so I told him to start journaling. As my mom, I go, no, just start writing down the little tidbits and things that you want to remember to put into the book and just see what else comes up, because you start writing these stories down, they are never going to make it in your book, but something might pop up that you had forgotten about. There's no way you've gone through 58, 59 years and remembered everything that happened. And so it's like just like tickling that memory and opening it up again.
Yes, that's so true. I don't remember. It's amazing because I tried to start a memoir, which is challenging for a fiction writer because I can't make anything up.
If you turn it into fiction, like I did with mine, then you can.
Yeah, all right. But my sister had different memories than I did. When I started talking to her about the events that happened, was it like this? No, it was like that. And
oh, that always happens. And of course, different perspectives and your different, it probably happened that way to her, and to you it happened a different way.
Right.
But
you're definitely coming at it from places. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I encourage to start writing it down before you start writing your book, to just start getting things organized. And you'll get things that you just can't even imagine because you've got them locked away. And you're kind of unearthing them piece by piece. And that goes back to where I said, put yourself in a spot. You just have to be a child. I had someone do this. They were at a funeral and they were standing at the grave and they put themselves there because they wanted those emotions and they didn't know how to do it. And I said, put yourself back there and just close your eyes and think about everything that was going on around you, like all the smells, like the sounds. Was it raining? And she did, and she was like, "Wow, I got a lot popped up from that."
Yes.
And it made the scene much more believable.
Right. That is such a good idea. There have been times when I've been at events and different things where I just pull out something to write on and just start to record because the sensory images are coming. And if you don't write it down, it's not going to be there in 10 minutes.
I know. I have it in my phone. I have a whole list of, I start talking. Like, I hope they don't hear what I'm saying.
Go to the bathroom and people are like, what's in there?
I don't know. I was at Starbucks one day and I saw this very, very large tattooed man with all different color hair and lots of piercings. And he was sitting down at a little table with a big fruity drink with lots of whipped cream. And he had a little tiny dog with him. And I just thought, that is a character.
Yes.
This little tiny chihuahua, miniature teacup chihuahua, that he had in his pocket, And they're sharing the whipped cream. It's so funny.
Yeah, that is great. I've been at the gas station in New Jersey now because in New Jersey, they have to pump gas for you. You're not allowed to pump your own gas in New Jersey. So there was a guy pumping gas and he had such an unusual face. So I'm sitting there in the driver's seat, cataloging his features.
I would have taken a picture without him knowing, but yeah, I have those in my phone too.
That would be a little days for my face. Trying to get a picture.
And what's interesting? I watched a movie about forgot his name, Charles Dickens. He used to do the same thing. He would write down people's names and he would write when he would be out and he would start writing down in his little pad. I was like, oh my gosh, we all do it.
Yes. Gotta catch it while it's hot. You got
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a form of journaling. It's just, you're taking notes and keeping it in your phone, but or in a pad. But yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine if you were journaling for a romantic couple, the ideas of the two people, whoever they may be, and their thoughts about what they, notice about this person on first meeting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great. Well, back and forth,
What
I'm wearing my best dress. It's beautiful. And it's like, I hate that color.
exactly.
Or a puce colored dress. I can't believe it.
Yeah. Even if you didn't really use it in the book, you could at least know what they were thinking and bring the emotion of it forward.
Right.
Um,
And that's what that does. That helps you. The ultimate thing is helps you not to bring backstory and info dumping because you're doing it in that journal instead. And you're getting all of that out and you're just giving your reader what they need to read. And those are hard to do. I'm sure you agree, not to info dump.
oh, yeah.
And when people give you all this backstory and it's like, you don't need that. But as the writer, you need it. The reader doesn't need it.
Right. When I found a great editor at the beginning, I think it was on book number 3, and I found this fabulous editor. When I sent her my material over the course of the next few books, she said, you always start the book in chapter 3.
Everybody does.
All that info dumping, right?
Everybody does. Just cut out the first 2 chapters. But honestly, what I'm telling you with the character diaries, with the scene diaries, it does really reduce a lot of that because you get that out of your system by writing it in that journal. And you realize as you're writing, you don't really need it. Because it helps you build those characters. And then you can add the little bits and pieces as you're writing. For example, my character hates peas. Well, I'm not going to, in my book, start the whole book by talking about how come she hates peas and why and why and why, but you learn she hates peas because mom puts a plate of peas down and she's like ready to barf, so that's all we needed. Right.
Right. Yeah, those little details, those tiny nuances, the expressions, body language.
Mm-hmm.
I love that stuff. That is really what takes your book to the next level, when you can get that grounded into your character. Yeah. So do you keep like 3 running journals all the time, or how do you manage that?
I do. I actually created a journal and I put them on Amazon. They're called 90-day writers journals. And I have like 3 designs, and this is mine right here. I'm using it. So it's got 180 pages. So it's 3 months worth of journaling. And that's what I do. So this one has got my new character. So I'm working on a new book. So it's 2 pages a day. So I can pretend like it's my little diary. So yeah, I practice what I preach.
That always helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I made those, because, people are like, well, I don't have one. I'm like, well, I got you covered. Here you go.
Yes. 180 pages, two a day. There's your 90 days. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah. It's not overwhelming then, and it's organized. So, because like I said, it's got to be pen to paper. Doing this on your computer or even voice to your phone, there's something about the tactile and the brain and you using a pen and holding it in your hand. And I tell people it makes the words come out of your head. They go down your arm, past your heart, and out onto the page. And so it doesn't work that way when you're typing, because you type too fast and your brain can't catch up. So writing by hand, you're writing as fast as your brain is going. It's like you're in sync. So it allows you to have those thoughts and write them. They might not be clear, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And cross it off. But it's just a whole different experience.
Yes, I so agree with that. That is that is like the psychology of where the characters come from. They come from inside of us at a deeper level for sure. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about plotting. Are you one of the people that does plotting, or are you one of those people they call pantsers who just kind of wing it?
So I am started as a pantser, because I typically get my ideas just from something. Like I just see something and I get my idea. But I have learned by doing that it's very arduous, it's very time consuming, and there's a lot of tears. So I read Save the Cat Writes a Novel, awesome book. And so I kind of hybrid myself where I get my idea and I get my ending, my beginning and my ending. And then I just make some plot points that I want to make sure I hit so my story arc is there. And then I write, because then I let things come as they come. Doing the diary, things pop up. But I have my framework and I have my map. So I myself, because I have ADHD, I cannot spend hours and hours and hours plotting. I prefer to see what happens. But if you have a loose outline, a loose plot path, it allows you to do that and stay on track. And I don't know if you heard me say, I do the beginning and the end. I encourage people to write their last chapter first. Because what that does is that gives you something to aim for. You know where you need to end up. It's like your goal, right? I got to go for that goal. We do everything in life. We have a goal that we're shooting for. You don't have an ending or an idea of how your book is going to end, even if it's a business book, even if it's a memoir, no matter what. You're just going to write aimlessly without a point. So I say write your first chapter last, and then you get over all the first chapter jitters of where do you start, and then you go back and you start. You see, I like to do things backwards.
That's such great advice. I have never used that in my my writing course, but I love it because I always say your ending is in your beginning and your beginning is in your ending. They have to come full circle. So if you start with the ending, you already have that piece to put in the beginning. That makes total sense.
Yeah. I've done it many times. And it really does make a big difference because, like I said, I'm a hybrid pantser, and that really helps. Yeah. And a lot of people who I work with are afraid to start because they don't know where to start. They're like, well, I don't know where to start. Go to the end. Yeah. And that makes a little light bulb go off in their mind, and they're like, okay, I can do the end. I don't know why. Probably the same reason you said it's coming full circle.
Yes, exactly. Because you do head somewhere. You're not just, that was the thing that got me to plotting was I would end up in, I'd be wanting to go to Florida and I'd end up in Maine.
Yeah.
And, I just
here. Yeah.
You have to kind of know where you're going.
I get that. There's some people who can write that way, but like I said, I find it very difficult during the cleanup process, and it's not fun. I think it takes you a lot longer during the editing.
Yes. That's why I switched up too, because I really don't like writing 5-10 pages and having to throw it out. That really bothers me.
Yeah. Or a whole book. But I have several writing friends who will spend a year plotting. They'll build these big. One of them, she created a big wall in her house, and and I'm like, your characters are dying. The characters are dying I could see them.
Yeah,
they're moving on. She's like, I gotta plot the whole thing out. I was like, okay, but you understand when you write, things shift and change, and you have to allow room for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Have a character pop up out of nowhere, or you'll have a character like, I don't need them. Why are they even here? And you'll just, erase them. That's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a happy medium.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm in plotting mode, for myself or ghostwriting, I might spend a week or two, and that's it. I can't labor. I'll lose my energy.
Yeah, and that's what I encourage people, especially because we're working in a 30 to 90-day process. So you want to, before we start writing, you don't want to spend 6 months doing that plot.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah. Got to roll those pages out. Besides that, the writing process is the fun part. I want to get to that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let the characters tell you what they want to do next, because they are so stubborn. You could plan all that out and get into like 1/3 of the way through, and suddenly your character's going, I'm not doing it.
I had that. I had one of my characters, like, because remember, I write for kids. She was carrying this kaleidoscope around. I don't know why I gave her a kaleidoscope for some reason. And then, like, halfway through the book, I was like, why does she have a stupid kaleidoscope? She doesn't even care about it. Yeah. So I had to go back. And I go, besides that, I can't spell it. I'm dyslexic. I'm like, I picked like the worst word. So I went through and got rid of it. It's like, okay, she doesn't need that.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Yeah. So tell us more about what you do and how people could work with you.
well, like I said, excuse me, I work on a 30 or 60 or 90-day program, and you don't have to be a writer. We lay out a lot of groundwork before you start, and I am there coaching you, holding your hand through the process, encouraging, giving a lot of advice when you get stuck. And then at the end, we have this wonderful first draft that's not so terrible, because most of them are terrible. And if you're writing a book for your business, it's much easier to go right to the editor from there. If you're writing fiction, it's much easier to go let it rest and then have some other people read it. It's a shorter process. And I picked this because I believe that you should write in a season. It's your creativity period. Does not last forever for a book. Might last 15 years, but for you. But because you took a long time to write that book. You put the book down, put the manuscript away, and you come back to it. You have to get back into that space. And you're not in the same space that you were 6 months ago as you are today. You have to get back into the mindset of those characters. So writing it in this short time frame, you're just headlong into your characters, headlong into your nonfiction, whatever it is you're writing, and you stay in that creative space and that mental space and that emotional space. And then you're done. And you can move on instead of down, down, up. Yeah. So that's what I do. I do hourly things too for other people who are not wanting to do that, or who are already done writing and we're just getting started. But that scares them a lot. So
yes, during those 14 years, I put it away, say I'm never going to write again. 6 months later, got it out, pulling it apart again. One of those things that I'm like, this is really getting annoying, and I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you find yourself like having to get back into, you spend an hour like reading what you wrote so you can get back into that space?
Right.
Yeah. And for me, my writing time is precious. So I don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to figure out where I was, and then my characters get lost. So your character is completely different. So that's why I encourage that. And it does not become a part-time job, because part of my process is teaching you time management, teaching you how to talk to your partners and family members if you have any, or your cat, Yeah. You have, some teamwork around you to help you during this period.
Go ahead and give us your website where people can follow up and learn more.
Sure. It's so easy. It's my name. It's SallyLotz.com. So it's SallyLotz. And I have a connection on there. You can connect for free. We can talk. So
that sounds great. The podcast is both video and audio. It's on YouTube, but it's also on Spotify, Audible, iTunes, and all those audio-only places. So SallyLotz.com. Sally, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being with us on the Fiction Writers Podcast. You have to cut that out.
I know. I was trying not to cough.
And thank you for being with us on the Fiction Writers Podcast. My name is Lana McAra. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.